That's better. Hey there, everybody. I have my stream set to medium latency, so there's a little bit of delay between what I say and what you're seeing on the screen, or between the chat and what's happening on screen. So today we're going to be taking a look at creating a dialogue project, and my idea is to make this something that can easily be imported into the Zelda-like project. But I'm going to start this as its own thing. So, hold up. I got to turn down my volume here. Oh, that's up. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to create a new Unity project to have this kind of like in its own thing. It'll be in 2D. I'm going to call this dialogue test. Location is my desktop. I'll leave it there for now. And let's create. Okay, so Ibrahim asks, is it will game video for channel? Yes, it eventually will be. Yakisoba says, hope all is well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Cecil says, is it Cecil or Cecil? Cecil says, hello everyone. Hello, Cecil. Bruno says, hey, hello. Charles says, cool. And Brendan says, hello. So, all right. Let's get started here. I'm using my my tablet to help me with looking at chat. I don't have a second monitor, but the display keeps turning off, so I'm just going to really quickly make it not sleep. There we go. That's better. Okay. Cool. So, all right, Bruno. Oh yeah, you're welcome. Of course. Thanks for coming. So I'm just going to kind of be working on this. I have no notes, so this is going to be a little scattered. You guys will kind of have to bear with me with this. I know that not everybody likes it when it's a little scattered, but I want to work through what I think is an easy way to set up a branching dialog system. There's a way that I set up that I put on my GitHub back in, I want to say September, that uses scriptable objects, and that's actually not too bad. But I would like to use Inkle because I think it would be better for a larger project. And for me personally, I want to work on a larger project for my personal project, and I want to look at using Inkle for that anyway. Brandon says, are you doing live? And this isn't going to replace the videos. There'll still be a video on my channel. This is kind of a more rough exploration, and then I'll use this to make notes to do stuff on my channel. But I'll like kind of workshop this out. I did the same thing with abilities with live streams a while ago. I did a live stream for abilities, and I did a couple live streams for NPCs and stuff like that. And then I actually made videos. Bruno says, your tutorials are great, very technical, and the end result is awesome. I like the ability videos very much. Thank you. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad to hear I could help somebody. Or that somebody likes what I'm putting out there. Okay, so I guess we're just kind of waiting. While I'm waiting for Unity to load, let's talk a little bit about what Inkle is, because I got a question from that up above. What is Inkle? So Inkle is a markup language that is made by a game company called Ink. Inkle is the name. The Ink is their language that they made. Inkle is the game company behind 80 Days, Sorcery, ! Which is an update of this old Steve Jackson fighting fantasy books. I love Sorcery. That was one of my favorite games that came out that year. There's a website they have called Inkle Writer that I've suggested one of the English teachers in my school could use. It's like a web way to write Choose Your Own Adventure. And then there's just a bunch of other stuff they've got on here. They have a game coming out soon called Heaven's Vault that I haven't spent a whole lot of time on, but 80 Days is great and Sorcerer's great. Anyway, they made a narrative scripting language called Ink, and Ink runs in the Ink editor, which is here. I think it's called the Inky editor, but whatever. This is what it looks like, and it's used for a way to create a branching story. So you can kind of just like type instead of having to worry about trying to type in JSON. A lot of game scripts end up being written in Microsoft Excel or in Google Sheets, which works from the programming side, but it's not very comfortable to write like that. So there's a whole GDC talk that I could link about this, but they feel like it's easier if they have an actual markup language, which is what this is called. This isn't a programming language, it's markup, that allows them to do things. So there's a basics tutorial and then there's an in-depth tutorial. And I thought we could go through part of this to start writing an Inky, and then they have a Unity integration that I've already downloaded. And as soon as my Unity, oh, here it is. So I'm going to, so I went to the package on GitHub. You can download, from the asset store. I just downloaded it from GitHub just because I don't always like the asset store's integration. So I downloaded that package. It's on my desktop. I'm going to import a package, custom package, and I'm going to look for it on my desktop, and it's Ink Unity integration right here. So it's going to decomp sound that nobody likes. All right, cool. So this adds a few new files to your project folder. We have plugins, and then Ink, and then this is where the Ink tools and the Ink libraries are. And then we have scenes, and this is just the sample scene. Okay, and then there's the Ink library and the Ink settings. We're going to come to this, but this is a way to kind of make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to. So the story we're going to make here, I'm going to try to save this as, before I go any further, and you can export to JSON from Inkle too. So if you just want to use JSON for your dialogues, you totally can. A lot of people are really comfortable with it. I'm not. I know JSON is, it's readable, but I don't know. It's a pain in the butt for me, I think, to read it. So where's the project I'm working on here? Dialog test. Assets. And I'm just going to make a new folder here, and I'm going to call this Inkle story. And then I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this, we'll make it a funny title. We'll call this Once Upon a Stream. And we'll save it as an Ink file. Alright, cool. And we should see that in here. Oh, didn't save. Alright, so let's start adding some to it. We're going to call this Once Upon a Stream by Mr. Taft Creates. Okay, so this is how easy it is to start getting something to work in Inkle. The shortest Inkle file is just a single line. If you want to kind of reverse or then go all the way back. And this is what it is. So we can start adding choices here, and the choices will show up, and we can start choosing between them. I want to save this project though. There we go. And I'm going to call this, I don't know, first dialog. And this is going to go to end. And then at the beginning, I'll have just something that goes to first dialog. And it auto-completes really similarly to IntelliSense. Now in this first dialog, I can start adding some actual text, some body to it. Let me see if I can embiggen this. So right now that's, I just realized how super tiny that is. Okay. Is it under edit? No. There has to be a way for me to make the text bigger. Old men like me have bad eyesight. Typically it's control and then the scroll wheel. That's not doing it. View. To do zoom controls. Alright. Way to... I don't want to maximize it because that's just going to make it take up the whole screen but still be tiny. Okay, so I've got this writing with ink. Can I just do a find on the web page? Zoom? Nope. Okay, well I guess we're just gonna have to deal with it being teeny tiny for now. No, okay, I'm just gonna have to live with it. I haven't looked at the chat in a while. Oh, okay, you guys must be super into what I'm doing, I guess. Anyway, so my first dialogue, I'm gonna say, once upon a time, there was a math teacher cooped up in his house due to a quarantine. This math teacher wanted to find something fun to do to keep his mind off of how to keep his mind off of not being at work. Alright, now to start making choices, I just have to start adding asterisks. And then the asterisks, or is it asterisks or pluses? So here it says, so I can have this, stream is disconnected. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna continue then, I guess. That's weird. Okay, so I could also work on a tutorial for your many ongoing series. Alright, so when I have these choices here, I can click on them, but then in this case it runs out of content. So this shows up this way. If I want to set it up so that there's something that comes up after, let me get this down, that's annoying. If I want to set it up so that there's something that comes up after, so like I could do work on planning lessons and then have it be like, I should work on my lessons, Mr. Taft said. So what I'm going to have here is after work on planning lessons, I'm going to end it with open close square brackets, and then I should work on planning my lessons. Mr. Taft thought to himself. So over here in the actual Inky editor, all that I see is lessons, but when I click on it, work on planning lessons, I should work on planning my lessons. I could also, if I want to not see that work on planning my lessons, encapsulate it in, I thought I could do that. Oh, so I don't want the work on planning lessons to show up. There's a way to do that. See, this is why it's yeah, we're just trying stuff out here. Alright, so back to what I was looking at. So I got my divert, taking the final crucial feature, dangerous is of course choices. Choices are designed, so nod currently goes to nod. There are a few things to note about the way we've authored these ones. Normally the text you put in choice becomes text. As you can see with the second example, B can be used to. Sorry, I'm reading out loud. That has to be like the worst content ever. So if I do nod currently, I can just go to nod. And alright, so I'm gonna make a divert here. So I'm gonna call this is a not, and I'm gonna call this lesson planning. Stacks of dusty books shook as Mr. Taft adjusted them into place. It's been far too long since I worked on this. Just leave it that way. And then this can just go to end. So I'm going to add a divert here, and this is going to divert to lesson planning. So now this one isn't yellow anymore. Orange 975 says, keep up the good work, my guy. Of course. Anytime, my man. So now if I click on work on planning lessons, it goes to the end of the story because I have this end here. And I'm going to do another. I don't think I need to have that end as part of lesson planning. I think I can just do, call this one tutorial. So we can say the code as if someone else wrote it long ago. Now where was I? Mr. Taft queried the darkness. Okay, so this does have to have a divert after here to go to done. I'm just creating a really, really simple story, and then once I have like these two choices, so end, and then this needs to divert to tutorial, and then work on a tutorial, and then instead of for one of your mini ongoing series, I'm going to do should work on one of those tutorials I promised to finish. Mr. Taft mumbled to himself, as I often do. Okay, let's go back here. So the way our story is right now, we have the title of the story, and then it diverts to the first dialogue. And then in the first dialogue, so if I wanted this to not automatically go to the first dialogue, what I could do instead is add a choice here and call this begin the story, and then have that divert. So there, begin the story. Hagster says hello, hello Hagsters. And then from here, I can use one of my choices I wrote. So work on planning lessons, work on a tutorial. There has to be a way for me to make that work on a tutorial not show up. I wonder if I put it in parentheses. Nope. If I kept reading with my little tutorial I have up, that should be good. But for now, this is all we need. So I'm going to save this project, and let's take a look at Unity here. Now in Unity, I want to check out my game scene. Currently it's set to be 16 by 9. That's fine. I hate that stupid camera background color. Don't know why they use that. It's so bad. Let's start adding some UI elements. So I'm going to create let's create a canvas, and I'm going to call this my story canvas. Come on now, rename. And then this is going to be screen space overlay. We're going to make this scale with screen size. Reference is going to be is it 720 by 1080? Now, for those of you who have asked questions about having resizable UI, or UI that resizes nicely, it's all when I resize the thing, it'll snap to where the anchors are, which is good. But I'm left with this kind of, I don't know, this garbage decimals over here. So I'm going to manually set them first. I'm going to set my x minimum to be 0.1 and my x maximum to be 0.9. And then my left and right are both going to be 0. And sometimes there's some rounding that goes on, so like it won't make it exactly 0 like it's supposed to. Am I dropping frames again? Holy cow, 39% over the last 2 minutes a few seconds ago. I don't know what's up with my my internet. So I'm just going to kind of continue here. You guys let me know if this gets unbearable. I just choose just a regular old panel. We're going to go for kind of like a storybook thing, so I'm going to choose... I don't want those notches out of it. I want it... Yeah, that's what I want. So I'm going to leave this in sprite mode. Since I'm using the UI system, it doesn't matter the pixels per unit. MY Tari, I don't know if I'm saying that right, says hello from Turkey, hello to you. Hello from Montana in the United States. So this is going to be 2D input. I don't care if it's filtered. It is 128 by 128, so that's the max size. Resize format, no compression, apply. And then I also want this to be something that I can 9-slice. So I'm going to jump in here and move these little green jobbers so that this will 9-slice nicely. And I'm just moving them so that I have the corner here, so that the corner doesn't stretch. And then we'll apply that. And on my panel, I'm going to make the opacity full, and then pull in my wood panel I just used. And it's already 9-sliced. Nice. So you can choose it to be like tiled. That's weird though. Filled, which is where it doesn't do the, but like filled allows you to do this kind of weird thing. But I want it to be 9-sliced. Alright, cool. Now I'm going to call this my story panel. William Jeff asks, are you using nodes? Currently, I'm just doing some basic setting up of the UI. And then William also asks, what's Unity's dots? Have you heard about that? Unity's dots is their data-oriented tech stack. It is a complete shift in programming ideas. Data-oriented design takes programming from being focused on objects, like it currently is, and moves it to be focused on data. The advantages of making it data-oriented is you're only moving or manipulating the data that you need to at any given time object-oriented design, which is currently the industry standard, focuses on whole objects. If you're just changing specific parts of an object, so again with my anchors, because currently my anchors are set just in the middle, I'm going to go to, no, let's do 0.1 on X. Yeah, 0.9 is the max. And then for Y, I'll do the same thing, 0.1, 0.9. And then we'll make these zeros all across. Cool. Now the text is white. Salam as well. Thank you very much for translating that. So this is going to be, instead of saying new text, it's going to say story text. And I want to use a different font and a different color. So if I go into my channel assets, I'm pretty sure I have a fonts folder. I do, good. So these are Kenny fonts. I can drop a link in the description at some point. I'm going to use, I'm just going to make a fonts folder here just to keep things nice and organized. And then in the fonts folder, I'm going to drop in, let's just do all of them just in case I want to switch. Okay, cool. So I've got blocks, bold, go back, I don't need to look at you. Future, 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 future. I think it's mini that I want. Yep, this is the one I like. So I need to make a new font for TextMesh Pro in order for me to change the font that's there. So I forget where that is. TextMesh Pro font asset. There it is. Okay. Oh, a font file must first be selected. Okay. So create font asset. Is that not what I did? Oh, I don't want to open Visual Studio. Stop it. Okay, well, I guess we gotta wait until Visual Studio bumps its head into all of this. While we're waiting though, I want to take a look at the Unity integration. So I think if you visit the GitHub, yep, so it tells you kind of how to use it. No, I guess it doesn't have the API for it. That's okay though. Alright, so let's go back here. Ulysses says, hello Mr. Taft from Brazil. Hello to Ulysses from Montana. How are you doing today? Oh, okay, so I did make a font asset. Good. So I want this to be my font asset, and let's make the vertex color. I want to go with black, but I want to go pretty close to it. Since this is kind of orangey, I want to keep it like in the blue family of black. There we go. Let's make the font size 40. Let's make it 48, but let's leave auto size on. So min is going to be, say, 36. Max is 48. Okay. And then I don't want a gradient, I don't want spacing options. Wrapping is enabled for overflow. I want to make a scroll rect. Horizontal mapping, vertical mapping. Okay, all of this I think is how I want it. So Cool, except I want this to be centered. How does that look? That's good. Now, there's my story panel. Let's make some buttons. 075. Yeah, that's not too bad. So it's 80 wide, 28 is the max, no compression, apply sprite editor. I want to go all the way over so that that whole corner's in there so that no part of the corner gets weirdly stretched. So there's this weird little pixel here. It comes from the fact that it's a curved image. So I want to make sure I'm including that as part of the corner. It's very sorry to hear that, Tari. That's really too bad. Stay inside if you don't have to go out. If you do have to go out, wash your hands when you can. And yeah, watch out for yourself, man. Call this choice 1. Right, and then to highlighted sprite, I'm going to do this red. And then the target. Okay, I see what it'll do. Let's just make sure it works the way I think it should. Yeah, it's, I mean, my county, my state has cases right now, so our whole school is canceled for at least 2 weeks. But we're going to keep teaching over the internet and go from there. I'm going to duplicate this so that I can have at least 3 choices. And then let's grab all 3. How does that look? Cool. So if I go back here, I want to rename these to be choice 2 and choice 3. I'm going to have to reset my anchors as well. Okay, so choice 1. I'll go 0.01, 0.31, okay, 0.04, okay. This is kind of fiddly stuff, but it's going to drive me nuts if I don't do it. This is the kind of thing I usually mess around with when I'm like watching TV or something. Alright, so this one goes from, it says a length of 0.3. I want this to be centered, which means I want it to go 0.15 from either side of center. So this is going to have a min of 0.35 and a max of 0.65. And then the y min and max are going to be the same, so 4 and 225. Hey, come back. Okay, and then these are, wait, did I just do that wrong? Oh, yeah, I super did that wrong. That's better. Okay, and then this one, and then, so let's see, this one goes from 3.1 to 3.5, so then this one should go from 6.5 to 6.9. Cool. Okay, so we've got our 3 different choices here, and I should see the buttons turn red when I mouse over. Cool. Alright, now, to get this to actually read from the Inkle story. So I'm going to make a new, if I'm going to take a look at my plugins, ink, and let's look at the README. Create Inkles, printing, inking game, download the latest Unity package release, select one of the sample ink stories included in the package. And using Unity's inspector window, you should see a play button. Click to see the ink player window used for playing, previewing ink stories. So I should be able to preview the ink story I made here. Oh, hey, cool. Cool. That's really cool. So, and I can access the story state. Oh, nice. That's really, really cool. Alright. If I restart, begin the story. Okay. So, back to what I was reading. See the documentation in the main ink repo. For convenience, the package also creates an ink help menu option. To keep up to date with the latest news, customization, you can delete many of the folders from functionality. Ink player is the core. The ink player window allows you to play stories in the editor window. To play a story, alright, already done. Automatic compilation. Inspector tools. Okay, so what I really want is an API, so I can know what to start messing around with. So if I go to, I'm being a bit too sorry, lost my train of thought. I'm being a bit too, I'm going to save my scene here really quickly. Male about it, for lack of a better term. I like to be sure fog. Oh, this is using Unity's really old UI system. Holy cow. And I can contain myself so no longer. What is the purpose of our training? Sure, a wager. A wager? But surely that is foolishness. A modest wager, I trust. Cool. So let's take a look at how they set this up. They have their scene controller, which has their basic ink example. So let's take a look at this script and see how we can set up ours. So start story. So story equals new story. So that's the ink type. It's the story, and that comes from ink.runtime. The font create story is not null. Font create story. Refresh view. So refresh view removes all the children and then changes the text. Text equals text.trim, create contact view text. The story.current choices count is greater than 0. So then it creates the buttons. That's good. So long as there's a choice, it creates the buttons, and then remove children. Private text access, ink JSON, text asset. Do they ever use this though? Okay, so they do. And that's a serialized field. Okay, and that's coming from the story then. And then the canvas, the text prefab, and the button prefab. Okay. Okay, I think I got this then. So let's go back to assets and let's make a new folder for scripts. And then here, am I dropping like... wow. Okay, my stream isn't doing super great right now. I didn't realize I had that little mini feed there. That's interesting. Okay, So back to my sample scene. So I'm going to create a new game object. I'm just going to call this the story controller. And then I'm going to make a new script. I'm going to call it story control. So story control is going to reload dialog test then. Alright, cool. So I need to use using, is it ink.runtime? Yep. Cool. Now I want to make a reference to is it called an ink story asset? Text asset. I'm just going to call it ink story. Then I want to know, Gimdo says you're the best man. Thanks, I appreciate it. So I've got my ink story. I'll set up my, I don't need to access my canvas, I can just access the text. And then static event action story on create story. Oh, okay. I'm going to take this event here then. Go back to the story control. And then, am I calling that wrong? I am calling that wrong. No, it's supposed to be like that. No, it's using a delegate. Okay, I'm not going to use a delegate for this. Alright, so refresh view. Alright, so we'll make it a void. No, you know you're not supposed to do that. Let's make a void start story, and we'll do, no, you know you're not supposed to do that. Okay, so story equals new story from ink.json asset.text. But, okay, there we go. They're creating a story. So, stop. Alright. And then in the start story we'll say ink.json asset.text. Alright, so then they have this refresh view. So let's make some references here. Let's first make a reference to the using TM Pro. TM Text Mesh Pro UGUI, that's what it is. So then, after we load the story, if I'm too used to Python. So the story isn't null, then I want to check if story.can continue. It's not a method, alright. So if the story exists and the story can continue, then I want to grab the, I think it's called the current thread. String text equals story.continue. Create content view. Okay. That's needlessly complex, I think. So what I want to do here then is story.can continue, and then I want to do the text. So is equal to story dot let's try calling this from start. Alright, so if I get out of here, let's go to my story controller and bring in my story controller script, and this needs to know the story text, which is, nope, not there, here, and then it needs to know the story, which I think is this one. Let's see how it does. Okay, well, interesting. So we're Aiden Khan says, hi sir, so nice to see you back. Nice to see you too, Aiden. Thanks for joining. So story.continue, string text equals story.continue. Okay, so story text.text equals story.current text. Latest line of text to be generated from continue call. Let's change this to a while. So I think it might be seeing. Thank you, Aiden. I've made a few. Three. I finished 3. I have like a million prototypes I haven't finished, but I finished 3. Thank you, though. And thank you, yes, that Discord server is incredibly helpful. They're a great community. Don't know what I did to attract such wonderful people, but they're really great people. Okay, that's a bad sign. Oh yeah, no, that's an infinite loop. Okay. So let's try to protect against an infinite loop. So let's just create a quick integer, we'll call it temp. And then temp is less than 100. Oh, good lord. Python, you're killing me here. Temp++. I should know better. Okay. But wait, I thought I did that. Oh, hey, it does work the way I thought it would. Why didn't it work before? Right now I'm just waiting for Unity to close. I created an infinite loop because I know better, yet I still made one. So I'm just waiting for Unity to realize it needs to close. I think I might need to get my task manager in on this. There we go. Now I have to go back into Unity. Hi Cecil. There was supposed to be, but I never got around to actually continuing it. I have plans to. I haven't had time to make the notes to actually make that, so it will come eventually. I just don't know when. Okay, here we go. And of course my scene didn't save. Oh no, it did. Okay, that's something. But my empty object here didn't. So we'll call this story controller. And we'll add that. We'll add our text. And then we need a story asset. So put that there. And let's try not to get an infinite error. Okay. Let's do so if temp is greater than 99, let's debug it. Okay. Well, you really get so used to doing certain keyboard maneuvers when you work with Python, and then when you come back to C#, it's all different. Okay, so the issue is that it continue, but it's not for some reason understanding where it is in the text. So is it because I'm not telling it to continue? I'll default it to be nothing. Yeah, Cecil, I started going over that on a live stream, and then I remember that live stream. It was a while ago. It was like in November, December. I kind of ran out of time because I'd have to go over export profiles because you need to have the export profiles downloaded in order to start using that AdMob extra thing, which is why and then like, you know, everything happened, and it'll take me like a while to set up my notes and stuff for it because it's kind of an in-depth thing, and I just haven't had time to yet. hopefully I'll have time in the next week or two. Okay, so I want to say current story plus equals story text.text, and then no, story.current text. And then instead of this should just be equal to current story. I did receive your project file, Cecil. I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet. I will soon. Okay, cool. So let me save this. Okay. So if I go back in here, I think I do need to do the first dialog. So let's do again. And that goes to first dialog. Okay. Yeah, that's better. And then I want to change the buttons now. So let's go to our script here. Choice. And then require this to have a choice number passed into it. That'll be good, and that way we can have it be different for each button. So I'm going to save this. Let's go back and let's find our buttons. And let's give them an on-click. And it's going to come from the story controller. It's going to come from story control, and this needs to be public. Alright, so then back in here, so I want to do story control, choice, and then this is going to be 0. This will be story controller, story control, choice, and this is going to be 1. And then unclick. Story controller, story control, choice, and this. Alright, cool. So now we should have access to, or those should be able to do this. To make choices, on-click choice button, choice. Story.choose choice index. So I want to do story.choose choice index choice number. And then I want to, so is it constantly calling this refresh view? Yeah, it does call refresh view. So then we want to refresh the view. And I'm calling it update story. Okay. So then, alright, so I want to check to see if story.choices, is it current choices? It's a list. I want if story dot choose choice. Alright, so back over to the example here. What are they calling it? Current choices.count. Okay. So if there's more than one choice, Thank you, Cecil. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I have more ideas and more things I want to do than I have time. Okay, so if story.currentchoices.count is greater than 0, I want to make my choices. And make choices, I want to iterate over all of the story choices for I is less than current choices.count I ++. And then I want to set button, so now I have to do the button text. So let's do public TextMesh Pro U GUI as an array, and we'll call this button text. And then we'll do button text I.text is equal to story.currentchoices I. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. Okay, so I can do choices story.currentchoices I, which is what I thought I could do. But then button equals create choice view, choice text.trim, and then create choice view. Button choices instantiate choice.transform as a parent, choice text equals choice.getComponent in children text, choice text.text equals. Holy cow, that is way more complex than it needs to be. So I want to do choice, and then, oh, choice.text is what it needs to be. Story.currentchoices I.text. There we go. Now if I go back here, I want to set up that array. Go to my story controller, got my button text. This is going to have the size of 3. So I'll do this one, and this one. Let's hit play. Cool. Alright, so that almost worked. Now, what am I missing here? Oh, okay, so no, I did do choose choice index, choice number, and then I called update story, and then it updates story. Oh! So I do need this to be a separate method. This is kind of coming back to me when I messed around with this back in like October. But it's been forever since I actually messed around with it. I felt like it was just better to start from the beginning. So start story, and then, okay. So let's try this again. Sweet! Alright. Once upon a time there was a math teacher cooped up and he's, so I want to work on a tutorial. Alright, and then that's the end. So now I need to have something to say that's the end. They have it in here. They have it as this else statement, which I'm just going to copy really quickly. Go into story control, and then, so if current choice is else. So I don't, oh good Lord, that was a messy way to do that, James. So else I want to create choice view and a story. So I want to the story text.text is equal to end of story. Restart, question mark. And then I want to make the button text 0. Button text 0 dot text equals restart, and then I want that to restart everything. But let's make sure this works as I want it to right now. Okay, so we got begin. Sweet. Oh, except it didn't actually do anything. So I need to have it, like, wait before it deletes everything. Begin. Okay, so it actually skipped over some stories. So that this if statement needs to be like, let's do that. Let's just change the text of the button so that way we're not changing the story text if we don't need to. Okay, there we go. Cool. So now, to make this be something that branches, so already it's branching. There are other ways that you can make it branch, though. So, for example, if I choose Work on Planning Lessons here, instead of sending this to Lesson Planning Not, I can indent the next line, and then the stacks of dusty books shook as we adjusted them into place. It's been far too long since I worked on this. And then from here, you can add like another choice. Start by plan for programming. I should start my planning with my programming class, I think. And then I think this needs to be like a double asterisk, since it's a choice inside of a choice. And then this needs to redirect somewhere, so I'm just going to have it redirect to end. But I think now if I save it, I think it should kind of work. Okay, so begin. Okay, cool. There we go. So now I didn't change this because I don't have a separate choice. So I need to have like another method that goes through. And if I didn't use this, then I want to make the text blank or make the button inactive. So I could have two separate arrays here, one for the button and one for the text. Let's try it that way. So I've got my button text, and then I'll do button. No, hey, come on now. Stupid Unity still doesn't have their UI built into their system. Using Unity engine.ui. So I want to do public button array buttons. And then when we're making the choices, instead of going through the choices story.currentchoices.count, I can go from button text dot length, and then now I can check to see if I is less than story.currentchoices.count. So if we're less than the current choices.count, then come on now, I just want the ending. There we go. Then we're going to make the text be the current choices i.text. Else we're going to grab the buttons I dot enabled equals false, and let's also make the text null. And then before we do anything, we'll reset all of the buttons. So let's do that. Well, actually, let's just check and make sure this is going to do what I think it's going to do. So I'm pretty sure this is going to have an issue. I just want to check it first. Come on, there we go. Alright, so now I need to make the buttons, so 3. And this is not the best way to do this, because now I have to make sure that my buttons are in the same, they're in the same order as the text that relates to those buttons, which is not great. Again, okay, but this is better already. But now I need to make sure all the buttons are enabled. So I want to do for int I equals 0. Actually, let's just enable them before I check the story, and then that way they can get disabled later. Or I could enable them when I'm doing this. So buttons I.enabled equals true. Okay. Alright, so back in here. Come on, Unity, there we go. So now I don't know why this one, because I can click on it, but now this button won't. That's weird. Okay, so, but we got a branching path already. So there we go, branching dialog. Let's try to learn a little bit more about, so suppressing trace text, about how Inkle does stuff. So multiple traces. Okay, so glue, and then branching the flow. I think I can make the choices so that I can go back. I'm pretty sure I can. So I got plan for programming, and then I can just add another choice here, and this is going to be go back to the tutorial, and then so if I do go back to the tutorial, I think I can just divert back to this not. But then if I divert back to this not, if I make this a plus, I think, that makes it so that it doesn't show back up. I don't know though, we're gonna find out. So if I hit play, so I want to go to work on lesson plans, go back to the tutorial. No, but that doesn't. Enter programming. Okay. So there's a way that you can make it so that if you make a choice, and then you come back to that choice. Okay, as fast as we could. Story flow, loops. Stories get longer, they become more confusing. Nods can include stitches. Stitches have unique names. Travel in third class. Travel in the guard's van. First stitch is always the default. Script files can be combined. Varying choices. Okay, here's what I want. By default, every choice in the game will be chosen once. If you don't have loops in your story, you'll never notice this behavior, but if you do use loops, you'll quickly notice your options disappearing. Oh, okay, so I didn't need to do that. It's the opposite. So if I put this back as an asterisk, which I should really know which one it is without needing to look at my keyboard, then that option disappear if I go back. So begin, work on planning lessons, go back to the, yeah! Neat! Okay, cool. Alright, cool. Out of content, runtime error, so you need a fallback choice. Simply a choice without a choice text, out of options. That's funny. Okay, cool. So there we go. I mean, it was super rough, but that set up a kind of a branching dialogue, and I'm going to use this as a basis for what I'm actually going to go over when I write the real tutorial for the series. This is probably going to end up being like maybe 4 or 5 parts. So I'm going to need to talk about Inkle and Ink and how to write in that, and then the package, and then using the story, and then yeah, and they're gonna have to go through all that. So, but I think it's not that bad. Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna head out here in just a few minutes here, guys. You guys have any last minute questions for me while I'm waiting? Feel free to ask anything you want to know. Hey there, VL versus, how are you? We just finished up talking about how to make branching dialogue in Unity. I guess I can turn the camera back on since we're just waiting. You can see my unshaven mug. Glad to know you're doing well there, man. Or person, human being. Yeah, well, I'm going to do an actual, this is going to be, what I covered in this live stream is probably going to be 4 to 5 videos. It's a bit rough, but yeah. So here's where we are. We have our story that we can edit outside of Unity, which actually makes it kind of nice, I think. Our buttons are created dynamically. We have choices. If we make a choice and go back, we have fewer choices. and then it knows where the end is. So it's a super simple story. But, yeah. If you guys have any last questions before I go start working on dinner, feel free. Okay, well, thanks very much everybody who came. I appreciate all your support, and yeah, I hope to have a lot more content up in the next few weeks here, so bear with me for that. Otherwise, I hope you guys all have a great night.